Hello, hello.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Look at us.
See
Brand
the.
new. They told me not to move it, but I kind of have to.
I know. Raphael doesn't like moving it, but
Oh, yeah,
had to do
I'm
it.
getting the big eyes. Like,
Yeah.
stop moving it, Mel.
But just as always, when someone says don't do something, we kind of have to. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So today we're going to be talking about 5 reasons why you should walk away from your deal. And not should. You could. You should. You know, it's a reason why. It make you think.
Make you think on should I continue or and some of these reasons are reasons we've walked away. People, we own a lot of properties, we buy a lot of properties, we look at a lot of properties, but yes, we also walk away from a lot of properties because not every single one of them are a good fit as an investor. So today, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And of course, you're going to want to stay right till the end because we have Q&As, so stay for that. Before we get started, if you are new to our channel, welcome. Make sure to hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell to be notified every time we go live, and we have new videos every single week as well, so hit that bell and subscribe.
Absolutely. Every Thursday we have
Every
a new video
Thursday
that
we have a new
launches.
one. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, today, and we're going to go over some examples of deals that we've done or not done because of these reasons. The first one, and we actually have an example of, I don't know if I told you this, a deal where it was presented to us, what day are we? Well, obviously Wednesday. It was
Obviously.
presented to us on the weekend, and we said no. And let's go through the reason why. So, the first out of 5 is cash flow slash ROI, return on investment. And in this particular deal, we did not, and there was owner financing. So it would have been of owner financed first mortgage. We just had to come up with the down payment. I didn't tell you about this one because it wasn't even worth our time. But I think it was a 9-plex or a 10-plex.
This is also called divide and conquer, right? So we're not, we're clearly not working on the same task all the time, but exactly, you're filtering through. So if you happen to be a couple, or if you have a partner, it's nice to divide and conquer, so you're not both working on the same task.
Yeah.
But go ahead, I completely
no,
cut you off there.
No, that's good, and it's good that people, hopefully you guys are doing the same, dividing and conquering. But 9-plex, there was some commercial, there was mostly residential, which is our favorite, right? Anchored by residential tenants. But it didn't make sense, and I just used the 1% rule to initially rule it right out. I received the income and expenses, the profit and loss, right? And I took the income and I did my 1% rule on it, which applies to the market that it's in. Some markets that does not apply to.
Yes, you have to be careful with that 1%. You may have to adjust it
Yeah.
accordingly, depending where you live.
Yeah, so I knew the 1% rule did work in the market that I was looking at, and right away it was way off mark. I think they were asking 1.2. I don't quote me on this. Something over the 1 million, and it had the 1% rule had it at 850 or
wow.
9. So it was way off. There's not even a point of trying to
Right,
to
because sometimes it
negotiate.
can be below that, and
Yeah.
which we kind of like, because then
Yeah.
it's underperforming. We can increase its valuation and whatnot. But when it's just too far off,
It's too far.
Yes.
You're going to argue with the owners, right?
yeah,
And that's happened a couple. Now another example, actually, Mel. And I don't think I told you about this one either.
he's always full of surprises.
Well, it's because we're looking at deals every day. So there was a 12-plex. There was, again, owner financing was involved. And again, it was in a 1% rural area. Right off the hop, didn't make sense. So knowing to not even approach those deals because the numbers don't make sense, right?
Right. And that's the thing, right? Just because it's owner finance, it doesn't mean anything. If the numbers don't make sense, if you don't have your exit strategy, you have to go away. Now, speaking of cash flow as well, so the numbers in these cases didn't make sense. We've had some deals, and some of our mentees have had deals as well, where they're excited. It makes sense. They're making progress with the deal. However, once they actually verify the information, the income might no longer be what it used to be, right? Perhaps the owner mistakenly gave them a certain number, let's say for hydro or for rent, and once they verify that information is no longer true. It's no longer valid. So this is where it's really important to verify your numbers. And if it changes, you may have to walk away as well. That has happened to us where we thought,
Yes.
okay, we're moving along with this property. That's awesome. Once we start doing our due diligence, all of a sudden, wait a second, the cash flow is not what we thought it was, and it no longer makes sense.
Yeah, so cash flow is huge. The second portion of this is the ROI, the return on investment. And this is a few different things in one. It's how much money does the building make, how much time and effort do you have to put into it, and kind of that headache factor, right? So the ROI is pretty much a personal choice, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I mean, as an investor, your ROI today might not be the same as it will be in 5 years from now. When we started off, I was happy with making $500 off a property. I was thrilled. That's amazing, which it is amazing. However, fast forwarding now, I do want more because we have our system, we have our strategies, we know how to find deals, all that kind of stuff. So it depends on your own comfort level, depends where you live, depends how much time, return on time as well, right? How much time are you going to have to put into the place as well?
And I like how you said that. Where are you in your life? Do you have time that you can buy a repossession, a foreclosure, a bank repo, and go put that sweat equity in? Maybe you have time to do it, right? Maybe you don't have time. So it's going to be different for everyone. But yeah, the cash flow and return on investment is huge. And if it doesn't make sense for you, if that particular building, asset, income property doesn't make sense to you, then walk away, right? There's so many properties that come up that don't throw yourself in anything.
Absolutely.
That comes at you.
Absolutely. So that kind of wraps up number one. Number two, it's a big one. It's a costly one, and you have to make sure to be careful with this one. So it's structural. The structure of the actual property that you are buying, and it might look good at a quick glance, but if you're not sure what you're doing, this is where you may want to call in a specialist.
Yeah, because structure is such a big thing. It's never, well, I shouldn't say never, but most of the time it's not going to be a little number. For example, Mel and I had we only had 2 single family dwellings that we ever rented out. All the other stuff is multifamily. The house was getting older, and we discovered, so I'm even saying as an owner, we discovered that there was starting to be some structural issues, and it would be costly repairs. And we actually decided, you know what, we're too busy with our portfolio to be dealing with such a big project, that we actually sold it as is, where is, full disclosure, handyman special, that type of thing. Yeah. So it does happen sometimes where, and I'm talking on an owner point of view, where it just becomes too encumbering.
Yeah, it's just too much, right? Too much time and too much effort and too much money, where it just doesn't make sense. Now, when we purchased the property, why did we still go ahead and purchase that one if there's issues? We knew the issues weren't going to be right away, and we also knew that at the end of the day, it was still at that time a great purchase. We ended up making money at the end of the day with it. We were able to always have it rented.
5 to 7 years down the road, right?
Exactly.
We knew we had a period of time before it was okay, or before it started becoming an issue. So, I agree. No, it's good that you say that, actually, Mel. You're probably thinking, why did you buy something with a structural issue?
Yes. No. So usually we would not, of course, do that. In that case, we kind of knew, we knew our plan with this. So, but the important thing is to identify these types of things early on. So at least you know what, if you do decide to go forward with it, all right, well, what's your plan? Are you going to beautify it or do something and sell as is, as Dave and I did? That's what our strategy was. Are you just gonna not have the money to do anything with it? Like, if you don't have that extra liquid funds right now, probably one you want to not put your money into. And also, if you are gonna go forward with it, make sure again to do your due diligence. You might think that, it's a structural cost, it's gonna be $20,000 or something you may be comfortable with, and all of a sudden you might be $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 depending of the situation. So, and if you're not a specialist in what you do when it comes to construction, find somebody who is. It's okay not to know it all. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm good at drywalling, but structure is not my thing. And getting somebody who specializes in that kind of thing, because long term, yes, it's money today. And even if you walk away, maybe you lost a little bit of money, but you always have to look at your long-term vision. And real estate, I mean, for us certainly, and for most of you as well, it's about creating generational wealth, right? Having something where it can change your life, not just for today, but on an ongoing basis, and for generations to follow you as well.
Yeah, and the thing is you have to keep in mind that when you're buying something, if you notice that there is structural issues, you can't delay that, right? If you're buying it, you know that you're taking possession, you need to plan to fix it ASAP. So it's not something that you're going to fix, down the road. It's either once it's been identified and it's an issue today, you need to fix it sooner than later, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we actually have a video on that, so you'll be able to check that out afterwards. So if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, and you'll have these tips. So we actually have a checklist for you in that video.
Yeah, free checklist.
So you can check that out afterwards as well.
And again, if you have questions, Q&A will be coming up
Yes.
at the end. Start putting them in right now. So that way when we get to the Q&A, we've already got some in. So do not be shy. Comment below with your questions.
Absolutely.
Number 3,
Dave.
and this is something that a lot of people, and actually this is a question that I received from that I get in our mentorship program, and it's something to kind of keep an eye on, and
It's another big one. It's another. It can be very costly, and the thing about this one is that there's no return on investment.
No.
It's not like beautifying a property where I'm going to put $30,000 in it, but it's going to be worth $50,000. I'm $20,000 ahead. Awesome. That's not the case with this. So what are we referring to here? We're referring to environmental. Now, this is something that quite often people. They don't think about it, they don't pay attention to it, they forget about it, or they just kind of whatever, it will be fine. But the reality is, if there are environmental issues, it can be extremely costly.
And and the thing that people ask us is, that's only on bigger buildings, I don't have to worry about it on smaller buildings. And no, because environmental doesn't discriminate, right? If you have an issue with the building, if you have a quote unquote, for lack of better terms, a dirty building, it could be a single family dwelling, it could be a duplex, it could be 100 unit, it doesn't matter. So get the, and I'm not saying you have that, but if you are thinking that's only a bigger building problem, it is not. And you're going to want to look at the surroundings, right? You could have a single family dwelling that's beside a gas station, and you're going to have to think, are there environmental issues there, right? Again, it's not the size of the building. Has there been a laundromat nearby? Or not laundromat, dry cleaning.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So things
absolutely.
like that.
And it's also, you don't know what you don't know. So maybe you look around, it's a little residential area. It seems great. It's close to downtown, for example, let's say. However, let's rewind, 100 years. What was there before? Was there something before? Was there a gas station they took down and built over it?
Yeah.
Ooh, right? So this is where, just because it's not visual, this is where it's important to ask questions to people around that area, to your realtor, to your property management company, right? Ask questions to make sure that the property you're buying is at least the background of it, that it wasn't in an area where there might be environmental issues.
And just remember that you can't really use the excuse of I didn't know. If something happens and you are now the owner, you're going to be the one holding the bag. So do you want to be holding that hot potato? No. So make sure you do your research ahead of time on any piece of real estate.
Yes. Now, we're also not saying don't buy a property if there's environmental issues, because guess what? It can be fixed. Of course it can be fixed, but it certainly does come with a cost.
Yeah.
So again, this is part of your calculation, right? So we use our cash flow matrix and then we analyze the deal. Does it make sense? Is the owner willing to fix it? Maybe. Sometimes they are. Maybe. Sometimes they're not. All right. Is that part of of course, that's going to be part of our strategy. How much money? Do we have a quote? Do we know how much it's going to cost us? And how long before it can get cost? And what are the implications of that? Do people have to move out? Are they going to have to dig? Like how deep? Or how is that going to affect the building? Or is it a smaller fee that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, make sure that if you are going to jump into that endeavor, that you have looked into the cost to remediate that issue. Because sometimes, like Mel said, it could be a tiny thing. If now you've gotten into soil contamination, water contamination, air contamination, it's all a different spectrum. So yes, do your research on that. Not saying to be hands off or to completely, not purchase something if it does have some environmentals, but if you're going to remediate it, know the costs.
Yes. The next two are probably my two favorite ones.
Yes, that's why we kept them for last.
Yes, we always keep the
good stuff.
The good stuff for last. So this one is, I'm sure you've probably heard this term before from us if you've been following us for a while, exit strategies. So if you've heard us say that before, give me a thumbs up. See some thumbs up. Exit strategy. So what do we mean by that?
Yeah, exit strategy. So because if you're using other people's money, if you're using creative financing, right? If you're not, well, even if you're not using, sorry, even if you're using your own money, what I'm getting at here is the exit strategy is how are you going to either pay other people back, right? So if you have borrowed, use creative financing, owner financing, and all that stuff, how will you pay them back? And even if you're using your own money for down payments, you probably don't want to have a sum of money, put it into a building, and then just leave it there forever, right? You might want to take that back and then keep investing it into other properties, right? That's the smart thing to be able to truly keep purchasing a lot of buildings. So the exit strategy is exactly that. How am I going to A, be able to take my own money out of it, or B, be able to take out other people's money that I need to pay back that I borrowed to purchase the asset?
Absolutely, right? Yeah, and that's the thing. It's such an important piece of it. And often people get excited about it. They get excited about buying these properties, but they don't spend enough time on that exit strategy. And it can literally be, it is one of the most costly things people make because they buy the property, they get excited, but they don't have the exit strategy, whether it is using other people's money to am I going to pay them back, or what's my long-term plan with it. They just kind of buy it, they get excited. Am I going to flip? Am I going to buy and hold? And am I borrowing money? Am I going to be able to pay them back? All that is part of the consideration.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love that we're talking about even if you're using your own money, because people think if they're using their own money, they don't need an exit strategy. But it's so important, guys. Again, if you just want to buy one building and just leave your money into it and pay down the mortgage and have a completely paid off asset, then maybe you don't need an exit strategy. Maybe you're thinking I'll sell it in 20 years and that's my exit. That's fine. But if you want to be, a very active real estate investor, you want to take a sum of money, even if it's your own or someone else's, and keep using it again and again and again, you have to have an exit strategy.
Yeah, and think about it this way. If it takes you 5 years to get your money out, and meanwhile, with the right property, you could have gotten it 2 years early. Well, in those 2 years, you're buying another property. You're doing the same thing again. Let's say it's the same thing. Another 3 years on that one. Now you have 2 properties instead of one. Fast forward 10 years in appreciation alone, how much more money are you going to be getting in cash flow? If you're buying the right properties, yes, you should be cash flowing from day one. If you're buying the right properties, how much more cash flow are you going to get? So your exit strategy and putting your own money to good use is so important. And if you're not using your own money, it's even more important because now you're not just dealing with your own money, you have other people involved, and having that clear exit strategy, knowing exactly how you're going to pay them back. As a lender, I know I would want to do that. That's what we do with our lenders. We show people how to exit. We show people how we're going to pay them back before we even commit to the deal.
So funny that we're talking about this. Someone yesterday asked me, or sometime this week, they asked me about to tell them when we got started. And I just want to show this example night and day. When we were using our own money, and then when we started using creative financing other people's money. So Mel and I met in 2012. We purchased our first house together in 2013. Now in 2013, we already had 3 rental properties. Okay, I had one when I met Mel. She had 2, so we had 3. And the single family dwelling we're not going to consider into there. So then in 2014, because we were using our own money, we bought another rental. And then in 2015, see, it took a year. In 2015, we bought another rental.
And this was let's slow it down. We were able to do that. You were a full-time firefighter back then, and you were taking every single overtime shift possible. You were like the overtime king back then.
Yes,
he used to love his overtime. That's before we knew what we knew now. And I was the same. I was trading my time for money. I was already working full-time. I started teaching part-time on top of that because that was my mindset that, okay, I want to buy more properties. I want to use my own money. I got to come up with that 20% down. Well, that's exhausting. Like how is that even sustainable if you want to really grow? Like if you want to do it once or twice, that's fine.
That's fine too.
But
so yeah, using our own money, 2014 we bought another one, so now we're up to 4, 2015 another one, up to 5, 2016 bought another one. Now we're up to 6, okay? And in 2017, once we understood creative financing, other people's money, leveraging, good debt, all that stuff, we bought 12 properties in 12 months. So and when I was telling the story that, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? 1 a year, and we were working our
it would have taken us 12 years
to get that.
What a way to say it. That's true. We never said it that way. It would have taken us 12 years to achieve what we did in 1.
So again, that's why we're saying if you use other people's money, it just goes a lot quicker and a lot.
It's more than 10x.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, Grant Cardone, more than 10x.
So the exit strategy, that's why we talk about it, because we had it and it just allowed us to really crank out our growth.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Yeah, no, I like looking at it that way.
Yeah.
When I was telling the story, I'm like, I got to remember that sometime.
No, there we go. All right, let's talk about our gut.
Yes, the gut.
The gut.
Which is mine. I haven't had black coffee in a while, and my
Oh
gut's,
yeah, you're having. I guess we had no more.
Ugh.
We had no more milk, I guess, in the
No more
office. I guess you really wanted that
I
coffee.
really want
Yeah.
coffee, yeah.
Because you usually don't do that. But
No, I'm too milk.
yes.
Yeah, so guys, before we get into the last one, go ahead and ask some questions in the comments below. Let us know what you're thinking. It doesn't have to just be on this subject. Anything real estate investing, go ahead. Q&A is going to come up right after this.
Yes. All right. Back to the gut.
Back to the gut. So gut feeling, what does this mean? And this is something that is hard to explain, and you've had this before on other subjects. Something in your gut feeling is just off. Your vibe is off. Something
And you
that
don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the seller that is just, I don't know. There's something about him. There's something about her. I feel like she's lying to me. I don't know. There's just something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And that's the feeling. It's like there's something, but I don't know what it is. That don't know what it is often ends up being something.
Yeah, and we've had that a few times where the deal made sense, the numbers looked good, the exit was there, but there was just something that didn't feel right, and you can't explain it. And looking back, I'm thinking of the one, it was a duplex on, I won't say the name of the street, but this was probably in 2015.
Yes.
And I still remember we walked away from it. We had the deal under contract, and we had to talk to the realtor, and we still had a bunch of conditions, so, but we were talking about it.
That's where having the right kind of conditions is so crucial.
It's so crucial.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense, and I can't even explain why. Now, another thing that has happened to us, and I'm curious if it's happened to you, is sometimes you're doing a deal, and the deal looks good, and this kind of ties into the cash flow. But as you're going along, all of a sudden things just, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you this. And then it changes things a bit, and it's almost as if it wasn't up front. It's as if you had to discover it, and oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, that's right, yeah. And you just keep discovering these little, oh, that's right, I did have that issue there. No, okay, you're right. And you just start discovering these things.
What else am I going to discover once I own the property?
Yeah, what other questions am I not asking that I might get the answers to? But that so you're going to have those situations, and every time we've had it and walked away from it, we've never regretted it. Maybe we might have walked away from a deal that made sense, but in life, following your gut feeling is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking back at some of the properties, I mean, if it did happen more than once, it happened on a actual house we were going to buy for a while. And
yes.
and we did not end up buying it. And now looking back, it's like, oh, thank goodness we didn't, buy it. But in the moment,
I think it's emotions. Emotions take over.
Yes, emotions, or maybe there's money that went into it. And this is a term that I remember this. You've heard this before, but I remember this in one of the first terms I learned when I was in college and I was in business. And it was sunk cost. I'm like, what's a sunk cost? Well, it's a cost that's gone. And if you are an investor, you will have some sunk costs. So you're going to put money into something, and you're not going to get return on investment, and it's gone. And that might be when these kind of things happen. Maybe you spent money on inspection, for example. Maybe there's something that you did, and you put a little bit of money, and then it's like, oh, but I put money into it. Do I still want to? Maybe you got it appraised. Whatever it is, you put money into a deal and then you decide to walk away. That's a sunk cost. It's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. However, if your gut is telling you for whatever reason to go away, I'm a big believer, and again, it's going to be your own personal choice. I'm a big believer in following my gut. It usually leads me in the right decision. I followed my gut to be with you.
Oh, good call.
There we go.
But no, don't. And even pride. Check your pride at the door, okay? I thought I was going to buy this building. I told people I was going to buy it. Well, circumstances change, things change. So don't let that get in the way either. If it just doesn't make sense to you anymore, you don't need to explain to anyone else. If it just doesn't make sense to you, doesn't Oprah say that? Remember you saying that to me before? Oprah says something like you don't always have to give a reason, right? If it
Yes,
just doesn't make sense to you, or
I love that tip. That's one of my favorite things I've
you said
learned
it to
from
me a
her.
bunch of times. That's all.
Yes, that's how much you remember it. Or maybe you were a fan too, and you just
Maybe I
didn't
was
tell
an
me.
avid Oprah fan. There
Yes.
you go.
But no, she did say that. She says you don't have to always explain yourself. You don't have to always, somebody invites you for dinner and we feel like, I don't want to for whatever reason. We feel like we have to have an excuse. It just, and this is what she says, it doesn't work for me, is what you have to say. That's all you have to say. So there you go. I'm not, this is not my quote. She came up with it, not me, but I love it. So you don't have to explain yourself. You can just make that decision.
Yes. So those are 5 reasons why we have walked away from deals, and I hope that you start looking at these 5 things to assess deals moving forward.
Yeah.
Let's get into the Q&A.
Let's get into the Q&A from Chris. We got a couple questions. Awesome, Chris.
there you go.
Let's
Nice.
answer some questions here. Where did you find your virtual assistant? So we have two virtual assistants. We have a lot of team members across the world, actually. Now we're big believers in hiring the best. So we do look everywhere when we do hire. My first one was actually my mentor that did an introduction to me, and the second one was, I think it was a company that we ended up using, eh?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So there are companies out there that can connect you with those kind of people, Chris. How did you structure your real estate company?
Yeah, and this is something, what was I going to say? Knowing that you started your property management, whole clue, interest. Yeah, and honestly, Chris, what was I going to say? Everyone should have a different structure, right? And
we get that question all the time, and it's an important question. And I would be very, very skeptical of anybody that answers you, because without further
without
questioning you and getting into details. Because
if someone gives you a cookie cutter, that's dangerous.
Yes, everybody, it does not work for everyone. Everybody is structured differently. Yes, of course, we want to protect our asset. We're incorporated and all that. But I would say, you need to find an investor-focused accountant, investor-focused lawyer to really know how to properly set yourself up based on your own goals. And that's something we see all the time. People, how are you guys structured? How are you guys doing it? But the way that Dave and I do it is not necessarily the right one for everyone.
Exactly. It's going to depend. How are you? What's your succession planning? The other thing is what type are you? Short-term rentals, long-term rentals, buy and hold, flip. So honestly, the way we're structured doesn't really necessarily matter. And you need to ask the lawyers and accountants, and you need to have them talking to each other for your specific needs.
Yeah,
Chris.
we've often spoke with our lawyers, even for our mentees in different situations, about how they should be structured and whatnot. And it almost seems that every time it's not the way we are. It depends on their situation. Yeah. And okay, well, yeah, they have a property management company too. Well, that doesn't matter. It depends on their goals. Depends on this. Depends on that. So there's a lot of different moving parts on that.
Well, what's funny is I had a meeting with the accountants at the lawyer's office last week, and because we would do referrals, and they said everyone calls us saying, I want the same thing as Mel and Dave. And it's funny because he said no.
I think he said not once have I
suggested for the exact, because again, it depends, right? So it's funny, even directly from the lawyer's mouth, everyone wants the same structure as you guys. And he says, no, that makes sense for Mel and Dave. It doesn't make sense for everyone else. So anyway, I like that. So right from the lawyer's mouth.
A great question. All right, Peter. I got a deal because the owners were divorcing and just wanted to liquidate everything without listing. Absolutely, that can be,
Right place, right time.
right place, right time. Unfortunately, Warren Buffett bought into gold after banking it as an investment for years. He knows how to swallow pride.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, and let me touch on this because I don't think you keep up on it, is Warren Buffett. So remember we talked about sometimes you just got to swallow your pride. So what Peter here is saying is Warren Buffett recently just purchased gold. Warren Buffett has been saying for years that gold is not a good purchase, not a good asset, not a good investment. And with all the turmoil going on right now, he just purchased a lot of gold. So even Warren Buffett can be wrong and swallow his pride.
You know what? And I do love that. And I
Good for him.
do like realizing that sometimes it's timing. My beliefs were this I mean, we used to believe that using other people's money was a scam. And we didn't know what we didn't know. And then we discovered the power of using other people's money to grow a portfolio. And now I would never, and we never put any money into our own deals. So we don't know what we don't know. But being able to realize that, all right, this was the way we used to do things. We used to trade our time for the money. We used to take every overtime shift we could. We used to, and then we discovered and made that shift. So that's great.
That's awesome, Peter. That's cool. And good for you for finding.
That's awesome. Woo!
Alba, pride is so true. Yes, you feel like failure if we didn't complete the deal. Yes, 100%, Alba, and I love that you're saying that. Thank you so much. And there are some times, because if you have, and this is why, okay, a couple things here. When I used to be a firefighter, okay, I remember not saying anything until the deal literally closed, until I had the keys in my hands. Because if I started talking about an asset and it didn't close, exact same thing like you just said, you might feel like a failure and you might have questions, you might have people, getting into your business. So, but
and they're almost happy for you when it doesn't close too, right?
Yeah, they're not real estate investors, so they kind of.
I guess it didn't work. I guess it wasn't that great of a deal, but you're bang on.
Don't let that get in the way. Don't be afraid to walk away from a deal for any reason.
Yeah, and now I mean we kind of talk more about it openly because I think now the reality is. It's very true. My own pride, like I don't want to tell anybody about this deal because if it doesn't go through, like they're gonna think I couldn't qualify, I couldn't do it. No, that's not the case. There's many reasons why. So if you're finding yourself in that situation, maybe just don't say anything until. Now I don't care. I look at a lot of deals and I 100% know, and I'm 100% transparent with you guys that. Guess what, Mel and Dave, we don't close on every property that we look at, that we put offers on, because that's just not realistic. Sometimes we do walk away.
And one thing too, sometimes just because you walk away now doesn't mean a no. And we've touched on this before. And I've got a deal right now where the owner.
Is this one a surprise for me too, Dave?
No. The owner is a little impatient, and I just need more time because I'm closing other deals. And I know it's like. And again, it's not the pride thing and all that, but it's like, it's going to happen. It's just, we thought it was this month, it might just be next month. It's still going to happen, okay? But I'm still, because I had other deals previous to it and other obligations, I'm okay to, suck up my pride and say I might not be able to close this one. If you can wait for me, that's great. If not, that's great as well. So yeah, don't let the pride thing get in your way, Alba. And I love that you said that.
Great. Some great questions, guys.
Yes, keep them
coming. I love it.
I love it.
Awesome. Hey, guys, when you purchase an apartment building with other people's money, OPM, and you need to reno the units to increase the lift or any other cost, where does that money come from? So great question. It depends. So sometimes it all depends. And this is kind of like the corporation answer, the vague answer that we gave. It's going to depend on you. So what have we done before? Sometimes we use our own money. And the nice thing about never buying any properties using our own money is that, of course, we have the backup money or every line of credit. We have money that we can use to fund the renovations or any costs like that. If you are a new investor and you don't have that, then yes, you may want to use that as part of your strategy. And again, even as many units as we own, sometimes we still use other people's money for the renovations as well. So you can use things such as a promissory note, for example, to help fund the deal. And that's essentially a contractual agreement where that's part of the strategy. You borrow X amount of money, X percentage for X amount of time, and you pay them back once the renovations are done. A little pro tip here for you is to make sure to give yourself extra time. So if you think it's going to take you 6 months, let's say it's a get job and it's going to take 6 months, leave yourself extra time and calculate additional fees, because most of the time there's always something that ends up costing you extra. And if it doesn't, awesome, you're ahead.
Bang on.
Nothing else on that.
Nailed it.
Awesome. So I think that answers the questions for today.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys.
And I know many people are finding us on our podcasts. If you've missed some of our podcasts as well, you can find us on any major podcast platform, the Investor Mel and Dave Show. And that's the title of it. You'll be able to listen. So I know that I actually was speaking with a gentleman last night, and he joined our action mentoring program, and he said that's how he found us, was on our podcast, because he's a transport driver. And he said, I listen to you guys all the time. And
That's
that's
awesome.
how he found us. So there you go. So if ever you're driving around and you want to learn more about real estate investing, or you're cleaning the house, or whatever you're working out, go find us, the Investor Mel and Dave Show, on any major platform.
Yeah. So make sure to like and subscribe. Again, we post a video every Thursday. And if you have comments, questions, concerns about any of the videos, put it in the comments below. We personally answer every single one of them. So
Yes,
do
and that
not
goes
be,
for
shy.
yeah, that goes for any videos as well that we do. So, when you see our videos come out, ask us questions, comment. We want to help you be successful and grow your portfolio. That's what we're all about. And if you want to find out a little bit more, just because we had that question about how are you guys, are you doing OPM? Here's a site for you that you can go to. So you may want to jot that down. I'm not sure if Raphael, you're able to put in notes. So bot12in12.com. All right, so bot12in12.com, and go to that. It's a completely free masterclass. We spent about 18 minutes focusing exactly just on that, on the 6 creative strategies we've used to buy 12 in 12 and now own 170 units. So go check that out if you haven't.
Completely free. Leave your credit card at home.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us on Wednesday. Take advantage. We're only halfway through the week. There's still Thursday and Friday to keep crushing business. So take advantage of it. Be productive. Go, put some offers on some real estate, and don't be afraid to use those 5 reasons to walk away.
Awesome. Have a great week. Bye for now.